You are listening to stories at Chubby Orange Audio. Wish you an enjoyable listening experience. My name is Emma Wilson. I'm 17 years old in 11th grade. The day my father passed away, it was pouring rain. At the funeral, everyone said I was a pitiful child, but I could clearly see that their eyes weren't entirely filled with sympathy. Most of it was curiosity mixed with contempt. The reason was that the person crying the least beside the coffin was my stepmother, Sarah Mitchell. She wore a tight black dress with a long coat draped over her shoulders, her dark red lips without a smudge, her eyes calm to the point of being cold. When everyone was whispering and gossiping, she just bent down to pour a cup of hot tea and scrolled through her phone, comments floating past her gaze. Oh, this is the opening scene. Evil stepmother check-in. I heard this woman has had 3 husbands. Anyone who marries her dies young. Perfect villain character preparing for the scene where the female lead gets sold off by relatives. Can't wait to see this unfold. I was startled. The sounds around me were still noisy, but right before my eyes, several blurry lines of text like holograms kept floating by. I rubbed my eyes, the text disappeared but then reappeared. Before I could understand what was happening, my Aunt Mrs. Diana Parker pulled me to a corner. Her face was full of fake sympathy. "Emma, come live with us. Honey, your stepmother doesn't care about you. Staying here will only bring you suffering." Before I could answer, my stepmother walked over, her voice soft but cold. "You haven't asked the child's opinion, yet you're already making decisions for her." Mrs. Diana smirked. "I care about her, I want to look after her." My stepmother glanced at me, her eyes deep as if probing. "Emma, do you want to go?" I blinked. "Here we go." The female lead will go with the relatives and begin a series of days being mistreated. Choosing the stepmother is the wrong path, girl. Trust me. My heart pounded. Those lines of text seemed to be warning me about a future I hadn't lived through yet. I swallowed and shook my head. "I'm staying." The entire room fell silent. Mrs. Diana stiffened, and my stepmother raised an eyebrow slightly. She didn't smile, nor did she say a word, just turned around and told the security to see the guests out. That evening, when only the 2 of us remained in the living room, my stepmother finally spoke up. "Do you know what you just did?" I pressed my lips together. I chose to stay with Mom. Her eyes flickered for a moment, then she poured a glass of wine and drank it leisurely. "From now on, don't call me Mom unless you really mean it." I lowered my head, but the corner of my mouth curved slightly. Somehow, being next to her, I felt safer than with any of those relatives. What's this? The plot has derailed. I like this direction. Stepmother protecting the female lead sounds like juicy drama. I didn't know what those lines of text were, but I was certain that from today onwards, nothing would follow any script anymore. The next day, when I came downstairs, the smell of food had already filled the kitchen. My stepmother was sitting at the dining table, not in the glamorous dress from yesterday, but wearing a white shirt and gray pants, her hair neatly tied up. She looked younger and sharper. On the table was chicken porridge, toasted bread, fried eggs, and even a large salad. I stood frozen at the doorway. "Eat." Her voice wasn't loud but enough to make me move because I didn't dare disobey. I pulled out a chair and sat down. Just as I picked up the spoon to scoop some porridge, the housekeeper came in from outside and placed a plate of cold chicken bones at the corner of the table. "This is for the little girl," she said, looking at me with a slight smirk. I was stunned. Aha, the silent mistreatment begins. The female lead must suffer so she can meet the male lead later. My stepmother looked up, her eyes like knives sweeping over the housekeeper. "Who told you to give her cold chicken bones?" "I thought—" "If you're just guessing, then quit." The entire room fell dead silent. Before I could react, she had already taken her chopsticks and placed a piece of hot chicken in my bowl. "Eat up. Don't let yourself go hungry. It will affect your memory." I mumbled, "Thank you." That breakfast passed in silence, but I knew that at least 2 housekeepers disappeared from the mansion that very afternoon. They were replaced by 3 young, quick, and enthusiastic college students. That evening, while I was studying in my room, those lines of text appeared before my eyes again. Wow, the stepmother is so nice, nothing like the script at all. Maybe she's fattening her up to sell her for a higher price. I bet 50 cents that the stepmother truly cares about the girl. I wondered if I was hallucinating, or if this was a world with an audience. But thinking about her cold yet decisive eyes this morning, I felt that the 50-cent bet was probably right. 3 days later, an uninvited guest appeared at the mansion. My uncle Robert Wilson. He brought with him a stack of files and a fake polite smile. "Hello, sister-in-law. Long time no see." My stepmother didn't invite him to sit. "What's the matter?" Uncle Robert opened the files, looked at me, then said, "Guardianship papers. It would be better if Emma came to live with me. She's still young and freedom would be easier." I could clearly see that his eyes weren't on me but on the inheritance rights. Ha! This uncle is definitely a secondary villain preparing for the custody battle scene. My stepmother raised an eyebrow, her voice soft but cutting through all hope. "I won't sign." "Why not?" He gritted his teeth. "I'm blood family, while you're just—" She set her coffee cup down with a sharp clink, cutting him off. "I'm the person her father trusted most, and now I'm her legal guardian." The atmosphere was as tense as a wire about to snap. I instinctively sat up straight. "Ooh, look at this. The stepmother is about to unleash her move." Uncle Robert ground his teeth, stood up and left, but I knew for certain this wasn't the last time he'd come looking. That night, when only she and I were left in the living room, my stepmother suddenly asked, "Do you regret choosing to stay here?" I looked up no. She said nothing more, just poured more wine and smiled slightly, and I realized that smile wasn't as cold as I had once thought. School was never a place I liked, but today was particularly heavy. As soon as I walked into the classroom, I heard whispers. "Did you hear? Her father just died, now she's living with her rich stepmother." "Yeah, I heard the stepmother is really evil, probably raising her to sell her organs." Haha. School drama storyline activated. This is when the female lead endures hardship before meeting the male lead. I pretended not to hear and sat down at my desk, but Chloe Martinez, the daughter of a big businessman, deliberately kicked my chair. "Hey, where's the math homework?" I remained calm. "Your homework is yours to do." Chloe frowned. "You helped me before. Why are you being difficult today?" "Think having a stepmother backing you up makes you cocky." The whole class looked on in silence. I knew if I continued, I'd become a target for her entire group. I chose to stay silent and opened my notebook to work. But Chloe reached over and grabbed my pen, throwing it out the door. "Go pick it up." I sighed and stood up, but when I stepped over the threshold, I realized there wasn't just my pen in the hallway. There were also 2 big male students waiting for me. Yep, this is when the male lead appears to save the day. "Your stepmother is rich, right? Give us some spending money." I blinked and smiled wryly. "I'll give you money, but after that, don't bother me anymore." I took out my wallet and handed them 3 bills. Both of them smiled with satisfaction. But just as they turned to leave, one of them grabbed my shoulder again. "Just kidding. We'll take the money, but you're staying here a bit longer too." I felt a chill run down my spine, but before I could react, a woman's voice rang out, sharp and cold. "Try touching that girl." I turned around. My stepmother was standing at the end of the hallway, phone in hand, with 2 school security guards behind her. They rushed over and restrained both boys. "Who gave you permission to threaten students here?" my stepmother asked, her voice threatening but her eyes cold enough to freeze anyone. Chloe poked her head out of the classroom, about to say something, but my stepmother's gaze shifted to her, making her swallow her words. On the way home, she drove while I sat in the passenger seat. No one spoke until we stopped at a red light, then she asked softly, "Were you scared?" I shook my head. "With Mom there, there's nothing to be afraid of." She tilted her head to look at me. "If you encounter something like this next time, don't give them money, punch them in the face and then call me." I smiled softly, but my heart suddenly felt much warmer. Why is this more like a real mother than a real mother? This story is seriously off track. Friday afternoon, the school organized a photography club exhibition. I hadn't planned to go, but the homeroom teacher required each class to send at least 2 people. Unfortunately, my name was neatly on the list. The exhibition was held in the main auditorium. As soon as I walked in, a wave of whispers arose. Look, that's him, so handsome." I looked up to see a tall male student in a neat uniform, his features sharp as if sculpted, standing in the middle of the crowd. On his chest was a name tag, Ryan Thompson. Bingo. The male lead enters the scene, preparing for the fateful encounter. I frowned. Fateful encounter? What's that? I was walking by when a group of girls pushed through, causing me to bump into a table. The glass of water on the table tilted but didn't spill on me. Instead, it spilled all over Ryan's white shirt. The entire auditorium fell silent. A girl nearby screamed, "Emma, what did you do?" Before I could explain, Ryan was already smiling, reaching out to steady my shoulder. "It's okay, it's just a little water." There it is. This is the scene where the male lead is gentle, about to have that eye contact moment. But before the eye contact could happen, I had already pulled out a pack of tissues from my bag, quickly wiped the water from his shirt, and bowed my head. "Sorry, I have to go." Without giving him a chance to say more, I squeezed through the crowd and left. That evening, I received a Facebook message from a stranger. "Ryan, are you okay today?" "I'm fine." "Ryan, don't worry about what happened this morning. Ryan, I'd like to buy you a drink. Consider it an apology for drawing attention to you." "I don't need it." I turned off my phone. Immediately, those blurry lines of text appeared before my eyes again. "Wait, you're rejecting the male lead. She probably hasn't realized the importance of this connection yet." "Oh my god, the plot is completely falling apart." I laughed. "What importance?" "I don't plan to get involved in any messy romantic storylines. My stepmother once said that romance at this age is just a waste of time and can easily bring trouble home." The next morning, while I was having breakfast, my stepmother placed a newspaper on the table. On the social media page was a photo of me wiping Ryan's shirt at the exhibition. The caption read, "The Cinderella of the high school and the Prince of the photography club." She glanced at me, her voice casual. "Are you planning to date for real?" I was horrified. "No, I was just wiping his shirt." My stepmother smirked and sipped her coffee. "Good. You're not old enough to handle all the drama that comes with boys. Trust me, this prince isn't as beautiful as people think." I nodded, feeling a chill down my spine. She probably knew more than she was letting on. 3 days after the exhibition incident, as I was leaving school, Ryan was waiting at the gate. He wore a black hoodie and simple jeans but still stood out. As soon as he saw me, he smiled. "Emma, can I talk to you for a moment?" "Oh no, the male lead is attacking directly, about to ask her out for food." I checked my watch and answered directly, "I'm busy." Ryan frowned but still followed, "Just a few minutes. I want to buy you a meal. Thanks for the other day." I was about to refuse again when a black car stopped right in front of the gate. The window rolled down to reveal my stepmother's face. "Get in the car." Her voice was short and brooked no negotiation. I slipped into the passenger seat. She glanced at Ryan standing outside, her eyes cold enough to make him freeze like a statue. "Who is that?" she asked as the car rolled away. I hesitated. "A classmate. He just wanted to say thanks." My stepmother smirked slightly. "Any classmate who waits at the school gate for 3 days straight just to say thanks is either selling insurance or looking to cause trouble." I laughed. "Mom, you're being too serious." She tilted her head to look at me. "Emma, you have the right to make friends, but I hate people who look kind on the outside but are calculating inside. That boy isn't simple." That evening I received a message from Ryan. "Ryan, I saw you with a woman today. Is that your mother?" "Yes." "Ryan, she seems hard to approach. She is like that with strangers." "Ryan, I want to be friends with you. Can we meet without her around?" "Oh, touching the final boss now. The male lead wants to break the protection circle." I didn't reply. A moment later, my stepmother came into my room and handed me an invitation. "Come to a party with me this weekend." "What kind of party?" "An old friend's wedding. There will be many people you might find interesting. But don't forget you're going with me." I took the invitation, suddenly thinking that if Ryan also appeared there, I really wanted to see how she would react. Sure enough, Saturday evening, amid the luxurious setting of a 5-star hotel, I saw Ryan walking with a dignified middle-aged man. They were chatting with a group of guests when Ryan's eyes met mine. He smiled and walked over. But after only 3 steps, my stepmother had already turned to block my path. The champagne glass in her hand remained perfectly balanced. "Hello," she said, her voice light as wind. "What do you want from my daughter?" Ryan was momentarily stunned. "I just want to be friends." My stepmother smiled, but her eyes didn't smile at all. "Friends don't wait at school gates for 3 days. You're the son of David Thompson, aren't you? Last year's bank loan still isn't paid off. Take care of home matters before thinking about other things." Ryan's face immediately changed color. He stepped back, bowed his head in greeting, and walked away. I stood behind, half amazed and half amused. Oops, the stepmother completely destroyed the male lead. The romantic plotline is officially over. That night in the car, she only said one thing. If you're going to date, at least choose someone who isn't carrying his family's debt. I stayed silent, maybe. My stepmother was never wrong. Monday morning, while I was sitting in class, my phone buzzed continuously. A message from an unknown number. Mitchell and Associates law firm invites Miss Emma Wilson and Mrs. Sarah to discuss supplementary inheritance matters from Mr. James Wilson, your father. I read it several times. My father left a supplementary inheritance. I thought all assets had been transferred to my stepmother according to the original will. The property dispute storyline is about to open. Watch out, it might be a trap to separate the female lead from her stepmother. After school, I went home and showed the message to my stepmother. She just glanced at it and folded my phone back. We'll go tomorrow. Today Mom is busy, but if it's a real inheritance. She interrupted herself. Nothing is more urgent than having dinner with Mom. The next day, the law office was on the 18th floor of a glass building. Walking in, I saw Uncle Robert, who had once demanded custody of me, already seated. Next to him was an unfamiliar woman about 40 years old. The lawyer opened his briefcase and took out a sealed envelope. This is the supplementary inheritance signed by Mr. James Wilson 3 months before his death, which includes a new clause transferring 30% of Hapu Corporation shares and a trust fund under Emma Wilson's name. The fund supervisor is Mrs. Laura Chen. I was bewildered. Who is Mrs. Laura Chen? The other woman smiled and tilted her head. That's me, an old friend of your father's. Oh God, the mysterious supervisor storyline is here. Watch out, the female lead might get scammed out of all her money. My stepmother was silent to the point that I felt uncomfortable. Finally, she asked, has this been legally authenticated? The lawyer nodded. All documents are valid. Uncle Robert interjected. This is Emma's right, Sarah shouldn't interfere. My stepmother smiled slightly, her eyes sharp as knives. I won't interfere if Emma agrees. The whole room looked at me. I suddenly felt those blurry lines of text floating by again. If you accept, you'll be separated from your stepmother and fall into Mrs. Laura's hands. If you refuse, the family legacy storyline will collapse. I took a deep breath and looked straight at Mrs. Laura. Thank you for your kind intentions, but I decline. The room fell silent. My stepmother raised an eyebrow, the corner of her mouth curving up as if confirming something. Outside the building, I couldn't help but ask, did you know about this beforehand? Less. She answered simply. That fund isn't for taking care of you but for controlling you. The supervisor has full authority over spending decisions. If you had accepted, you would have lost your freedom. I suddenly understood that some traps aren't set with violence but with beautiful numbers on paper. The stepmother is too clever. If this had been the original script, the female lead would have been finished. Friday morning, as soon as I walked into class, everyone's phone screens lit up with the same news story. Businesswoman Sarah accused of fraud, deceiving shareholders, accompanied by a series of photos of her shaking hands with several men at dinner parties. OOS class drama has arrived. If the stepmother falls, the female lead will lose her support. My heart felt like it was being squeezed. The article was shared at lightning speed, with thousands of comments of all kinds, mostly mocking. I immediately called my stepmother, but only heard the voicemail. The number you have dialed is currently unreachable. At lunch, I snuck out of school and took a taxi to my stepmother's company. The lobby area was already full of reporters. Security had to set up barriers. I found a back way and used the temporary employee card she had given me to take the private elevator. Up to the 25th floor, the chairman's office, the door opened, and I saw my stepmother sitting at her desk, calmly drinking tea. I rushed over. What's all this about? She set down her teacup, as calm as if the rumors had nothing to do with her. Old tricks. Someone spread rumors to damage reputation before next week's board meeting. But if we do nothing... She interrupted herself. Emma, I don't need anyone's pity. Oh God, if the female lead doesn't help, the system will adjust the script. This is a golden opportunity to show capability. I gripped her hand tightly. It's not pity, I want to stand by your side. Her eyes flickered slightly, but she said nothing. That afternoon I spent hours searching online for all articles, videos, and comments. I noticed many accounts spreading rumors were newly created just days ago. Similar profile pictures, repetitive phrases, signs of a smear campaign. I compiled the evidence and sent it to a media studies friend I knew from a club. She helped contact several large page administrators requesting removal of false posts. At the same time, I posted a short article with photos of contracts proving all the deals my stepmother signed were legal. The post wasn't too long but enough to create a strong counter-narrative. Within 3 hours, Sarah falsely accused climbed to the top 5 trending topics. That evening when I came home, my stepmother was sitting in the living room, the yellow light casting over her face making it both sharp and warm. "Have you seen the latest news?" I asked, my heart still beating fast. She looked at me for a long time, then said softly, "Well done, but remember, standing against storms doesn't always require charging out. Choosing the right moment is most important." Ow. This mother-daughter relationship is better than the original script. The system is probably crying because the female lead is gradually taking over the role. I smiled, feeling for the first time that I had truly contributed to maintaining her position. But deep in my stepmother's eyes, I still saw something unsaid. Over the weekend, my stepmother accepted an invitation to a charity gala. She invited me to come along, saying it would broaden my horizons. The gala hall was magnificent, with crystal chandeliers blazing bright. Everyone in elegant formal wear was raising glasses and chatting. I walked beside her, keeping just the right distance so as not to get lost. Just then, an elderly man with gray hair but still upright posture approached. He looked at my stepmother, his smile cold. "Long time no see." "Sarah." She just nodded slightly. "Hello, Mr. Michael Brooks." I glimpsed his hand tightening around his wine glass. "You're still exactly the same, except the men around you keep disappearing." "Ooh. This is dark past hints. The husband-killer plotline is about to be revealed." My stepmother didn't react, just smiled politely and pulled me to another area. But I noticed her hand was slightly trembling. That night when we got home, I couldn't help but ask who that man was. She was silent for a long time, then answered, "A relative of my late husband." I was stunned. "Someone who died?" She nodded. "He believes I was the reason his brother died. Though that's not the truth." Wet, so the rumors aren't completely baseless. Who knows, maybe she really is involved. And the female lead will be betrayed. I trust my stepmother. This is family drama, not real crime. I felt like the comments were taking sides right in my head, one side suspicious, one side trusting. The next day, an envelope was delivered to our house. Inside was an old photo. My stepmother standing next to a young man, both smiling brightly. On the back of the photo was written in blue ink, "If it wasn't for you, he wouldn't have died." I brought the photo to her. She looked at it for a few seconds, then put it in the drawer. "Not worth worrying about." "But if someone posts this online," she interrupted, her voice strangely calm, "then we'll face it." That night lying in bed, those lines of text floated by again. The climax is coming. The female lead must prepare mentally. If you want to survive the storm, choose your side now. I closed my eyes, knowing I had chosen my side long ago, but for the first time I felt afraid for both of us. Wednesday morning, as soon as I opened my phone, notifications flooded in. Mystery of businessman Lucas's death, suspicions about young wife behind it. The article combined photos of my stepmother from 10 years ago with the old photo from yesterday's envelope. The content was full of implications that men associated with her all died under unusual circumstances. Within an hour, Sarah husband killer climbed to the top of search trends. In the comments section, netizens took sides and argued. "I believe she's guilty. That face doesn't look like a kind person. No evidence, so don't speak nonsense. Her adopted daughter is also suspicious." I gripped my phone tight, blood rushing to my face. At school I noticed my classmates' looks were completely different. Some whispered, some smirked. "Chloe didn't miss the opportunity. Emma. I heard your stepmother specializes in hunting husbands. When is it my dad's turn?" I stepped forward and looked her straight in the eye. "Watch your mouth, or you'll get a lawsuit." She was stunned, then muttered curses. But I didn't care anymore. That afternoon I went to my stepmother's company. The office was unusually quiet, with only a few loyal employees remaining. She sat in the conference room, in front of her a stack of papers and a laptop open to the news article. "Go home?" she said, her voice hoarse. "I can handle this." "I'm not going anywhere," I replied. "I want to stay here." She looked up, her eyes flickering before returning to calm. "This wave isn't small. If you stand next to me, you'll get swept in too." "So what?" I smiled wryly. "They've already mentioned my name. Hiding is useless." That evening, I wrote a long post on my personal page, clearly explaining the truth about the relationship between my stepmother and my father, and everything she had done to protect me from day one. I didn't use pleading words, just presented timeline after timeline, supporting documents, and photos of the investigation report on Lucas's case, concluded as insufficient criminal elements. The post spread faster than I thought. Many people began changing their attitudes, demanding removal of fake news. Several reporters contacted me wanting interviews, but I declined, only sending them scanned files. When I got home, my stepmother was sitting in the living room, the wine glass in her hand still untouched. "You took quite a risk," she said, but the corner of her mouth curved up. "But I'm grateful. This pair is the real official couple. See, this female lead cooperating with the stepmother is truly badass." I sat down next to her. The storm might not be over, but at least this time I wasn't standing on the sidelines watching anymore. The rumors lasted exactly 1 week, neither increasing nor decreasing, as if someone was deliberately keeping the fire burning low. Tuesday evening, my stepmother called me into her office. On the desk was a thick file and a USB drive. "The person behind this has shown their face," she said slowly. "It's Michael, the brother of my late husband, and also an acquaintance of your Uncle Robert. I've been patient long enough. He wanted to use rumors to force me to sell all Hapu Corporation shares cheaply, but he didn't expect us to have all the evidence." She smiled coldly. "We'll announce everything tomorrow morning." The next morning, an unexpected press conference was held at the city's largest hotel. My stepmother and I walked into the blinding camera flashes together. She stood before the podium without beating around the bush. "I have been falsely accused. And here is the proof." The LED screen behind lit up, playing a recording of Michael and Uncle Robert discussing hiring people to create fake news, along with a list of fake accounts that received money to spread rumors. Next was a bank statement copy proving money flow from Michael company to various news sites. Reporters exclaimed, microphones thrust forward continuously. Someone asked, "Are you planning to sue?" My stepmother answered decisively, "Of course." That afternoon, investigators announced the temporary detention of Michael for clarification of defamation and stock manipulation. Uncle Robert tried to flee but couldn't escape the arrest warrant. Boom. Final boss eliminated. The system is probably dead now. That evening when we got home, I opened my phone and suddenly realized those blurry lines of text had completely disappeared. No more script, no more destiny imposed on me. My stepmother sat on the sofa, sipped some wine, and looked at me. From now on you decide your own life. But remember, if anyone dares touch you, I'll be the first to act." I smiled and walked over to sit next to her. "Same here. If anyone touches Mom, I'll handle it." We clinked my orange juice against her wine glass like a pact that needed no signature. "Movie's over, but I want a sequel. This OTP has more potential than any romantic storyline." Outside, the city was still bustling, but inside this house, for the first time I felt everything was truly peaceful and belonged to me. This story teaches us that we have the power to reject predetermined scripts and forge our own destiny. Emma's journey shows that true strength comes from making independent choices. Even when others expect us to follow a certain path, her decision to trust her stepmother despite social pressure demonstrates the importance of looking beyond surface judgments. Thank you for taking the time to listen to today's story. I truly appreciate your comments, feedback, and thoughts. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to support the channel. See you again in the next story.